If you're afraid of your own success and maybe the fame that comes with it, then this video is for you. 5 years ago, I took a leap of faith, and fast forward, ups and downs and a lot of obstacles and hardships and challenges, I reached where I am right now. And some people call it success, some people call it still a small success. But either way, every single goal that I wanted to manifest was manifested. And maybe you're chasing dreams right now. Maybe you're building your personal brand or business and then try to have the lifestyle that you want to have. And then you're fighting with the demons inside of you, the fears and self-doubt and anxiety, or maybe the imposter syndrome. And all of this is banging in your mind every single day, and you're still fighting to this day. And my small success taught me so much valuable things, and I'm really grateful for all the obstacles and all failure and all the mistakes that I've made. And right now I'm aiming even bigger goals. But the truth is, every step you go to, there's a fear, there's a doubt, there's something that holds you back and challenges you to expand of who you are as well as your energy. The bigger the goals that you aim, the bigger the fear, and then the bigger the problem and the obstacles that you have to challenge yourself to face. But if you understand the principle and how your mind works, then we can actually overcome the fear of success, which is kind of insane that even though we want success, we want money, we want to be free, and we want to have a nice life, but so many people, including myself back then, was afraid of my own success, and which is completely conflicting idea that why would you be afraid of what you want? Like, I want this, but I'm afraid to take it. So in this video, I would explain why we fear what we want and how we can overcome it so that we can actually achieve the goals faster and manifest our dreams. So first and foremost, there's a difference between conscious and subconscious mind. So let's say this is that, and then there's a conscious mind. And this is subconscious. And this is 99%, and this is 1%. So obviously, based on the size of the subconscious, then compared to the conscious mind, obviously subconscious has so much power. It's like 99 times more powerful than a conscious mind. So even though we consciously think that we want this, we want to be successful, we want to be rich, we want to have a nice life, house, or perhaps, BMW, Ferrari, whatever the car that we want to drive, our subconscious actually see that success as a threat. Because number one rule of our subconscious is to survive. So if you're watching this video, happy and then doing well, then your subconscious did a very good job because you're alive and then you survived every objection, every obstacle that you had in your past. So your subconscious is working just perfectly fine, but it's programmed with the wrong ideas. And that is exactly what sabotaging you and showing up in your life as a self-sabotage, doubt, and this fear of success. So I broke down into 4 pillars when it comes to why we fear what we want. So we're going to go dive into that. So the first thing is that loss of identity. We all have this internal identity. It's already formed within ourselves. The first 1 to 7 years, we basically are in this theta waves, in the brain waves, as well as we are in a trance. So the trance is called alternative state of consciousness. And this is the hypnotic languages. So if you actually are in trance, which 99% of the time that we are, it's crazy, right? 99% of the times that we are in trance, which is, you're very suggestible. Is it S or C? Or maybe C. So this identity was already formed within you. How do you define yourself? Well, let me ask you another question. How can you introduce yourself? Well, my name is Sho, and I'm a mindset coach, and I do, run a couple businesses, and I'm Japanese. I speak 2 different languages, and XYZ, right? So everything what you could potentially describe as who you are is an internal identity that you recognize yourself as a self. Okay, the first 7 years we formed this idea of self, the I, my, me, mine. Before that, we don't actually have even the idea of self. It's a very scary thing for all of us to lose the identity that we formed because we are so attached. If you lose the identity, the previous or current identity that you have, then clearly, what are you going to do? you're going to lose this idea of self. So therefore, you're not going to understand who you are. And that's why your subconscious holds you back and then gives you so much insane amount of fear to not to change the identity you already formed. So the first reason why you are so afraid of success and what you want is because you are so attached to the identity that you created in the past. But the problem is, this identity that you already created is environmental, because your parents told you this and that, and then you experienced some traumatic experiences or some sort of whatever the experience that formed your identity in the first 7 years, and or the environment, because your race, because of where you grew up. It's completely different than if you grew up in Africa or somewhere in a fucking jungle, or you grew up in New York City, downtown. It's completely different, right? Because of the environmental aspect. So your identity is mostly 80 to 90% are environmental. So that's why it's actually not our identity, but we are told, or we are showed, or we are directed to believe this is who we are. So now, if you're not willing to let go of this idea, then of course it's going to keep holding you back from this current, the previous identity that you're just told this is who you are. Now, the second reason why we're afraid of what we want is the fear of responsibility. And this is so relatable. Obviously, when you aim, for example, $1 million business and then like becoming the top influencer or top YouTuber or, you know, top XYZ, obviously, if you think about it, imagine that Mr. Beast. You know, I don't know much about him, but, you know, I've heard that he spent $1 million or $2 million to just make a video. So that responsibility is so much that you actually spend $1 million to just make a video? What if that fails? What if that doesn't do well, right? So like there's so much responsibility if you run a, you know, big company doing like 5 million, 10 millions, then you might have like 100, 200, 300 people working for you. The responsibility that comes with it is so much. So subconsciously, again, your subconscious, the one primary reason for you subconscious to working 24/7 is to survive. Survive, right? So obviously, for survival reason, for survival purpose, we want to avoid unnecessary responsibility because it can be threatening for our mental and physical health. So this is working back of your head 24/7 and then creating the fear to hold you back from getting what you want. And number 3 is the fear of loss. Fear of loss is called a loss aversion in a different way, in the psychological terms. So fear of loss is essentially whatever you are about to lose has more impact psychologically than what we are about to gain. So if you gain 100 bills, $100, way. Let's say you get this impact, psychological satisfaction and dopamine. It's like, oh shit, I got $100. Like, yeah, let's get it, you know? And then let's say the next day you just lost $100. That psychological impact that I'm talking about, psychological impact when it comes to losing something is way more powerful than gaining something. We actually are so afraid and then so cautious when we step into something, when we're challenging ourselves, that we actually fear so much loss because it's psychologically very impactful. So we become so cautious and careful, and that holds you back from taking the leap of faith and taking actions, right? But the reality is, what we have to understand is that the insanity is not about that you are taking leap of faith without the plans. A lot of people think that's the insanity, but it's not the insanity. Because I took the leap of faith without the plans. And I spent $6,000, 6,000 euros in my bank account as a savings. And I quit my job and I was like, I'm gonna take a risk. I'm gonna, start walking this journey. I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. And I took the leap of faith. And yeah, the money was gone. But I'm so grateful that I took that decision because I was stupid enough to make that decision. That stupidity made this person standing right here, right now, achieved everything that younger version of me kept dreaming in years. So that stupidity is actually sometimes more powerful than the smart plans in your head. So the real insanity is the fact that you are doing exactly the same thing over and over and over and over, and then expecting consciously that you will get something different. But that's not going to happen. If you keep doing a 1 + 1, then it never becomes 5. So that's why we need to change this in order to get to 5. So that's why we are like, stripping our mind and then be naked so that we can understand and how we can change it. I'm going to explain the 3 things, the 3 traits that you can start implementing in this video so that you can actually start getting over these fears and then trick our mind to hack the subconscious and then trick the mind so that we can reprogram our mind. Perfect. Now, the number 4 is fear of rejection. This is huge. This is huge, no? I think man and woman doesn't matter. As a man, we don't want to get rejected, by a woman. It's very, very painful. Because every woman essentially are connected to a mother figure. So it's very, very difficult for us to handle the rejection, as well as, a man with the big pride has a very, very small capacity to receive. So what does it mean? It means that the bigger the pride and bigger the ego, deep inside they're very, very small and afraid. And that's why they need to put the armor as a pride and ego, and pride and ego as an armor. And then they can protect themselves from getting hurt. The inner child is just being constantly afraid. When I fear rejection, I totally understand. I was so afraid back then. But when I took the leap of faith, I understood this is holding me back so much. And still this day, I receive a lot of negative comments. And especially if you're running a business, when it comes to the sales, of course you get rejected. But here's the thing, here's the belief shift that happens. 30% of success rate will get you where you are. So like, in a dating or in a business, in the sales, it's the same thing, right? If you speak to 100 beautiful women, I'll speak from the men's perspective. Let's say beautiful woman, right? Like that, beautiful, wow. that's the hands. Of course, that's for sure hands. This is a beautiful woman, right? A beautiful woman, wow, it's a long hair, beautiful woman, goddess. 10 beautiful women. And if you speak to 10 beautiful women, the 7 will reject you, like, oh, fuck you, you're a loser. Bang. But then 3 might be like, you know what, you're actually cute, let me just get to know you. If you have the 30% of a success rate in closing or in, meeting people, then you most likely have so much chance to have a beautiful family with your soulmate as well as your soul clients. It's weird, isn't it? That we're afraid of something that we want. We want it, but we don't want it because your subconscious see that as a threat. We need to reprogram that. So I will teach you how we can hack that. Number 1, I'm going to sip some coffee. When I started social media, I had only 1,000 followers. I had only 1,000 followers. I was just so insecure about how I look on my pictures, right? It's so pathetic. But that's why I had only 1,000 followers. Didn't like social media. I hated the word influencer. But I realized that's my own fear. Social media became such a spiritual journey for me, and obviously it's, it seems like superficial, and then it's perceived as a very superficial, artificial thing. But for me, facing myself on social media became such a spiritual journey because all I faced was fear. All I faced my insecurity. So, and especially the get laughed at, I was so afraid of that. I was so scary that people look at me and disrespect me, and people look at me like, oh, look at this Asian guy, ha ha ha. Because I was bullied back then, and that fear was so deep and strong within me. And I started to notice that it's coming from my trauma. So I started to work on myself and then heal my trauma, and then really find that courage within myself and you know what? I don't care. Let me just show up as who I am and get laughed at. If I get laughed at 5 times, 10 times, then I will be fine. Then I did. And then I know the fact that, there are some people back then who was laughing at me, and well, I didn't consider them as a friend, so it's okay. But I received a lot of negative comments. I received a lot of comments that saying oh, this is cringy, this is stupid. But again, everything is stupid, everything is cringe, everything is funny until you fucking make it. The people will flip their attitude and then praise you for what you've done. So the genius and idiot a very fine line. All you need is to flip that script, is your actions and an achievement. So the number one, get laughed at, because all you need is the courage to get laughed at. Because your subconscious sees the threat, and then once you actually overcome that delusional program, then you gain so much freedom, so much ability to do a lot of things, because most people are in their head thinking about them, and then you are free from that bullshit. So it got me where I am right now, and then I feel like this is constantly challenged me, because you know, you got to do something different, you have to do this and X, Y, Z. And even if you know you're a minimal person, and even if you're chill, even if you're genuine, even if you're not trying harder type of person, but if you could find the courage without the excuse and then just challenge yourself to get laughed at on social media or whatever in the public, then this will give you so much power in the rest of your life to achieve your goal no matter what. It's very similar, but receive negative feedback. What does it mean? It means if you're not receiving a negative comments on your videos or whatever you do, and then as well as like getting laughed at, and so you know people saying shit on your mistakes, then you're playing small, which means you're not even seeing the full potential that you have within yourself, and that needs to be changed. So again, everything is holding you back because of these reasons. Majority of reasons are coming from these 4 type of fears within you. So receive negative comments, okay? I know it's really, really scary to be misunderstood. It's really scary to be seen as somebody that we are not, right? And I believe a lot of people are very genuine and kind. If you are, especially if you are a nice person, if you have the beautiful souls and love and, you know, just a caring personal trait, unlike those douchebags and scammers, it's going to be really difficult because you're just afraid of like lose that identity. In the book called How to Win and Influence People, one of the best book, I've read that so many times, and in the book he says, the human being, we blame everyone but ourselves. And this is so true. This is a human nature. The human nature, psychologically speaking, that we love blaming other people, but we never blame ourselves. And then some people, like, you know, I'm guilty here, I blame myself a lot. It's because a lot of people oftentimes, the people like me and people who blame themselves often come from a situation or a family or these childhood trauma where it was easy for us to blame ourselves. And for example, if, you know, blaming yourself rather than blaming somebody else was an easy option for you, and then, okay, you know what, I'll take the responsibility. You know what, I'll do it. You know, yeah, that's my fault. It was easy for you to make the decision, then that becomes your program. So I had that, like, I was like, well, okay, I'll take that guilt, I'll take that responsibility. But then I realized that it was not mine, right? Because it was just a human nature. And it was not mine. Maybe you're like that, but understand that everyone else will blame you for your mistake and then for your whatever the, you know, thing you said on social media and the mistakes that you make. We are not perfect, but there will be people that will say shit about you. But that's exactly what indicates that you're doing good, because you're taking more action than people who bitch about things. Okay, so let's go. Let's receive that. And number 3, the most important thing, is to reprogram your mind for success. What does it mean? It means you have to associate success with something good. Okay? Because now subconscious see success as an idea. It doesn't have anything. Success is an idea. It's just idea. But because in your brain you associate as a threat, it's connected. So it's emotionally triggered and it's hardwired. That means threat, equal fear, right? Right. And then it's like maybe stress or something like that. So we don't want to keep this association alive, because in your subconscious this is so strong that it keeps stress and fear and just like triggers instantaneously. But instead we want to break this, and instead we want to create an association with love, right? Joy, happiness. And then we feel more love by being successful. We feel more joy by being successful. We feel happiness by being successful. And then we want to create this inside. Because if you feel good, then you take the action accordingly. Don't you think so? Instead of like, oh, I hate cigarette, right? Maybe you smoke cigarette, I don't know, but let's say you hate cigarette. Well, it's disgusting. Then you're not gonna do it. Like imagine can you grab that dog shit? Then of course you say, no, why, right? Because it's disgusting, because you don't like it, because it's ew, right? But imagine the dog shit in your subconscious mind is the diamond. It's the most expensive thing you ever can buy, or the money can buy in this world. Then you're just gonna jump into the dog shit. So human beings make a decision based on how we feel. If you think that cigarette or dog shit is disgusting, then we're not gonna grab it. But if you look at the diamond, on the street, then you're gonna be like, oh my God, I have to take it, and you're gonna jump onto it. So because you feel good, you feel motivated, you feel excited, you feel the joy, happiness or love, that's why it needs to be wired to this idea. And how do you do that? First, identify that whatever that you're afraid of, and then understand that it needs to be completely rewired. It's not a threat. So you create an affirmation around it, and then as well as you have to focus on this feeling. When you're chasing success, when you're thinking about success, when you're visualizing success and like whatever the cars, and you're on the stage, or you have the community, or you have so much money in your hands, then focus to feel that emotions, and then teach your entire neurological system that this success, whatever that you envision success will be, is hardwired to love and joy and happiness. And this is so true. And whatever you've learned in the past, this is the real truth, but you're so conditioned to believe it's not. Because if you have more money, you can share with your friends and families. Don't you think it's such a loving thing to do? And which I can do now, because I became successful, because I made the money, I can do it. And before I couldn't. I was broke and I couldn't do that. And now I could feel more love doing that, and then just genuinely feel satisfied and fulfilled the fact that I can support my parents, and I can, pay for my friends. And the joy, right? I travel basically every month, and that's my passion. I love traveling because now I'm free in time, and as well as I have the ability to make money and be successful. Now I can travel. And then when I travel with my friends, it's so much joy. I can explore place and, Bali, whatever, Mexico, or, whatever that is. And there's so much joy to share that moment with my friends. So right now you have to rewire your brain for success equals love and joy and happiness, and constantly feel that, and then tap into that frequency, and then challenge yourself to go through these three things. Okay, so I genuinely hope that this will help you to get rid of the fear of success, because you shouldn't be afraid of what you want. Okay, you should go after what you want, and unapologetically, because you deserve it. You're here to enjoy, to live to the fullest. So if you're an entrepreneur who wants to 10x your revenue and actually grow your business, then apply from the link in the description, and then see if we're a good fit, and then we're gonna explain and then walk you through everything. And make sure you hit the subscribe button, notification bell, because it helps me to reach more people so that I can help more people with these informations. So I'll see you in the next video. Peace.